Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mornings with the Focus. Joined this morning, we have a recurring guest, Justin Walters of Sports Ruckus. Look, man, y'all got to bear with me. I'm still getting used to being up and being productive this early, especially the second part to this. All right, we got a little bit to get through this morning. First couple items on the docket. Playing games. We did not have any postseason NBA games last night, which felt weird after the playing games to start the week. But the results of Wednesday's games leaves us into a battle for eighth place in the respective conferences. We got Cleveland hosting the Hawks tonight at 7:30, then the Clippers hosting the Pelicans at 10. Again, the reward for both of these games, the reward for the winners of both of these games means you are officially the eighth seed in your respective conferences. In the East, that means the Miami Heat are awaiting you. And in the West, the flying death machine that is the Phoenix Suns are awaiting you. So congratulations to whoever does win tonight's games. And for the rest of the playoff bracket, even though the play-in is the postseason and the postseason, the NBA playoffs refuse to accept this as part of the playoffs for whatever reason. The first round, quote unquote, the first round of the NBA playoffs officially begins tomorrow. So you got a jam-packed weekend of NBA postseason basketball. Again, Cleveland hosting the Hawks tonight. They might have Jared Allen. They may not. If it's one of the things they were talking about when Cleveland fell to Brooklyn earlier this week. And then the Clippers host the Pelicans tonight. So looking forward to both of those this evening. All right. Justin's here, which means we're getting into some NFL today. All right. Where do you want to start? We got NFL underrated, overrated prospects, or looking at the teams and what, they can do after free agency versus what a lot of folks think they should do. And the reason we're talking about the can versus the should is people have this misconception that in free agency, if you're not signing big splash players, that you didn't take care of business or you didn't address your needs, where it couldn't be further from the truth. Sometimes you address your needs at a smaller scale, address them, period. It might not be splashy, but might be boring, but you address them. And if it allows you to go BPA, then you did your job. But I feel like, Jess and I talk quite a bit, and sometimes that gets overlooked by fans and analysts alike sometimes. So where do you want to start at, Justin? Unmute yourself, sir.
I wasn't saying that anyway of importance.
It's all good. Go ahead.
If you want, let's start. We can start with the what the teams could and should do. That'll lead. Then we can we'll see some names and we'll see some overrated names and some underrated names, and maybe that'll help.
Okay, that works. Let me get something up here. What would help? All right, so hold on. I got something here that would help. At least like a little roadmap. So I think we're going to end up starting the AFC East because this is what I found somewhere, and that's what we're going to stick with. So I think we have it. I think I got it up now. This screen. Here we go. The Bills. Where do you want to go in terms of, we know what they've addressed in free agency, the re-signings they've made. Where do you feel they need to address their roster?
I think for them, probably an early running back. Maybe they went big on pass rushers last year in the draft. Could never have enough secondary players, but I know if they could get a running back to go with. They have Singletary, but maybe if they were to get like a Breece Hall or one of the James Cook from Georgia, like that type of running back to complement and help the passing game, I think that would help them. Like I said, you can never go wrong with pass rushers and cover guys, but I think for that, they're pretty close to a complete team.
Okay. Moving on from them, we got the Dolphins, which is interesting. We were talking about them yesterday. So,
right.
What do you think they can do down in Miami?
Well, being that they don't really have many draft picks, but I think for them it's really just like finishing off the roster. They've already had a good defense the last few years. I think offensive line, they added Armstead. Maybe they had a competition at right tackle between with Austin Jackson and I think Robert Hunt. And then they signed some guards. I listened to the interview yesterday saying they needed they wouldn't mind grabbing a center. So maybe a center, and then with them, I think they play so many different people on defense. So I think maybe another linebacker, maybe a middle linebacker who can actually stop the run and who a little more athletic than the one they have now. I think that would help. But other than that, I think they have a really good roster. They signed running backs, they signed receivers, they traded for receivers, they got tight ends. So really, it's just offensive line and I say linebacker.
All right. For me, I don't know if they're going to address it round one, but they need a hammer for that running back room. You got the speed in spades and Chase Edmonds and Raheem, obviously. With both of those guys, sometimes you don't know how many games you're going to get out of them in a season. They need their hammer. You need someone who's built for the type of contact, especially short yardage, sometimes that you're going to get. Obviously, you have the luxury of you can move some of those track stars you have out wide around, but just every once in a while, you would like to get to convert in short yardage situations with an actual running back. But again, they're in a great place, man. They can do so many things. For all we know, I know they still have Gesicki. Maybe they address a tight end at some point in the draft. There's a lot of different things they can do because, again, coming out of that, that coaching tree or whatever, in an ideal world, those teams like to have two capable tight ends. Or that might not be a bad place for Connor Hayward. I know they address fullback in free agency, but they have a movable piece, especially when Daniel's in a run game like that, where depending on the personnel package, you get to dictate terms. So it could. They're in a great place. Let's just keep it like that. All right, the Patriots.
They traded for Devontae Parker, but they could always use another receiver. Definitely a cornerback to replace J.C. Jackson. I think they gave away one of their guards to
they
Tampa.
gave Shaq Mason away to Tampa, right. I believe so.
Yep, and they lost their center. So I think an interior offensive line, definitely a corner. I mean, they put a lot on J.C. Jackson's plate, so bringing back replacing him with Malcolm Butler doesn't really do much for me. So I think adding a corner early, or corner, another receiver who can stretch the field. They picked up the two tight ends last year, and they didn't both perform the way one of them. I think Hunter Henry had a better season than Jonathan Smith, but if the two of them can step up their game, and then just adding a deep threat that or someone that Mac Jones could trust, and then again, like I said, a corner.
Nah, for sure. I was gonna say you talk about a corner. And if who seems perfectly suited to end up in New England, I think they select in the first round. And again, they don't have to address corner first round, just like you don't have to address wide receiver first round. They can get either of those in the first or second round. Your boy Elam feels like a perfect fit for Bill in New England, honestly. I think they pick. What do they pick? 21st. I think it's within reason that Elam could still be available for the Patriots right there. But again, you definitely need to add something that goes downfield on the perimeter offensively. Like you have to. You're good at running back wise, and like you said, the interior line. Here's another fun team because they're apparently in trade talks for every wide receiver in the world, depending on who you ask. Even though they have the ability to just go out and draft two if they so choose. We talked about these guys yesterday. What do you think about the Jets and what some folks feel that they have to do versus what they should do, especially with their picks? Where they pick?
But remember we talked about yesterday. Jets have two top 35 picks. So four top 35 picks. So there's a chance to add a lot of talent there. And again, for them, it's just talent. It's not even so much one specific position. I mean, they could use a receiver, but they're solid receiver, but they could use a star to take it to the next level. They could use a running back at some point. to add to team up with Michael Carter. Um, there's been talk of an offensive lineman, depending on maybe a tackle because of Mekhi Becton's injuries. Um, defensively, they have corners, but again, if the right guy's there, it's worth a shot. Another linebacker to go in there, and then also the coaches seem to they never have enough pass rushers. So I think a speed rusher to team up with what they have would fit well for them.
Yeah, they're in a great place. You can get a wide receiver in this draft with any of the picks that they have. Like you mentioned, you pick 4, 10, and then you got 2 picks in the top 10 of the second round, I believe, or top 5 of the second round.
Top 5.
Yeah, there's no pressure. Which means you're the one team in the top 10 that can pick literally for luxury.
Right.
So again, what's going across the bottom of the screen, some people feel, oh, you need a wide receiver, you have to take one. You don't have to do anything right there. You could just walk away with Derek Stingley at 4, or if Thibodeau falls to 4, you can do that. There's a lot of things there's a lot of options.
Yeah, no, the Jets are in a decent spot. I mean, they don't have a great roster, but they have a little bit of everything. So they're not walking in with any major needs. It's more so just taking the best available and just adding to the overall talent of the roster. Because I mean, no one wants, we all go into the season trying to win a Super Bowl, but they're not ready this year. They're a year or two away, especially with the way the AFC is looking right now. So just add as much talent. Even if you, like we talked about, adding later on, maybe you add one of the injured players, and if you can get them for a discount price, it's worth it because now you're ready to roll next year. Just add as much talent as you possibly can. Because all their picks are going to be at the beginning of every round. So just maximizing the talent in this draft.
All right, hold on real quick. You got a comment. What's going on, Michael Kirksey? See, you made the I already know who you're talking about. Making a transition from Wizards Outlook to hanging out with us in the morning. We appreciate you. They talk about Kyle. He's asking why are they talking about Kyle Hamilton falling? Do you see any reason as to why?
I think with most college guys, man, it's the year before when you're just like happened with Tua, happened with all these guys. It's the year before you're the greatest thing ever, and then you're on top for too long, and now they're just looking for flaws. And again, it's the thing about Hamilton is you're trying to make him into. They tried to make him into someone that he's not. Hamilton's a great player that gets by on instincts. He has great length, but he's more of a he's a box player. His best work is coming downhill, and he has good range as he builds up speed. But he's not a super quick guy, which not too many 6'4" guys are. Right. And I think they tried to make. He's not really a hitter. He tackles you. He's not Sean Taylor. He's not an enforcer. He's just a really good football player. Which, again, when you hype him up as generational, you expect him to go to the combine and run on 4.4, 4.3. Like guys like Sean Taylor covered wide receivers and came down and blew up people. Like that's not Kyle Hamilton's game. Kyle Hamilton's a really good player, and in the right system, if you don't, I wouldn't put him I wouldn't put him as a deep free safety. You want him around the ball. You want him to use his length in passing lanes and to cover ground and make tackles in the backfield, that type of thing, as opposed to what I don't know what they picked. They made him as Superman, which is something that doesn't exist, but he's definitely a top 10, top 15 players. There's just the hype got unreal in a draft of players that it's not really a lot of top. It's not a top heavy draft, so he's definitely going to probably still go top 15.
Yeah, I think that like when we were talking yesterday about him, I think the biggest thing is people saw his measurables and started thinking of all the possibilities and ignored the kid for what he actually is, which is, as Justin said, it's still a damn good prospect. He's just not a metahuman. There's nothing against that. Just because he looks like one doesn't mean he is. Also, whoever drafts him, you have to commit to using him all the different types of ways you can use him. And the great thing, I think the best thing about him are his instincts. So I could care less what he ran. He's a big dude, but his instincts. How many times do people have to see this thing where we go, oh man, they look like a superhero physically, I don't care if they don't have a feel for anything. And then you get out there, watch him, and it's like, damn, I wish if he only had a feel or understood what was going on. And yeah, so look, he's he's a good player. And I think some of the things Justin said was he's been in college long enough where they do the build up, then the tear down. And then honestly, I think some people, after kind of throwing these unfair labels on him, kind of falling back down to earth a little bit, they're going too far the other direction. And I think that's just some of it. Like, perfect example, Isaiah Simmons physically is what people think this kid is. Except Isaiah Simmons physically is really a metahuman. Like, he was a legit metahuman.
Right.
You know,
except
similar.
This kid knows what he's doing though. That's the only difference.
That's a big difference. So like, again, where Isaiah, you could throw at linebacker and put somebody who knows what they're doing next to him, and it's cool. This kid's a safety. You don't want to have to. You can't teach your safety instincts, or a DB. Period. Like, you want them to have them. Like, that's what you would like. Said, I hope he falls to Commanders like they're saying. We need endless hope. We're going to get to y'all in just a bit. Trust. We definitely are. The Ravens, which is a fun one, because obviously, a lot of people are like, oh, they need a wide receiver. Go get a wide receiver immediately. Man, look, death taxes and Baltimore believes in their defense first over everything. I'm sure they will address wide receiver. Right? They're getting something to go in that front seven. And I know people, at least for me personally, let me see where they are in the first round. Where's Baltimore selecting first? Baltimore selecting at 14. For me personally, I think if Devin Lloyd's still there, that's where he goes off the board. It just feels like something the Ravens would do. You got Patrick Queen. Why not round out the middle of your young defense, get those two kids to grow old together, and you can still address corner if you want later and wide receiver with no issue, because you still have Marlon Humphrey. Whatever corner you get doesn't need to be a savior. They just need to come in and be able to play. Right. What do you think, Justin?
No, I agree with that. Also, like you said, corner, just because we talked about the other day, they had so many injuries at corner last year, and then obviously they had injuries at running back, which you're not gonna mess around until day 3 probably. But with them, they can always take a shot on an edge rusher because they're big on pressure, that type of thing. And a linebacker wouldn't hurt because a guy like Devin Lloyd can blitz and can play the run, and that's the kind of player that I think specializes in their system because they're with the big and physical players. So yeah, I think for them it's gonna be a defensive player, like a guy like a versatile corner who can play inside and out would help. I think, because that just teams up with Peters and Humphrey. I think that would be big for them. But again, they need a guy that's going to see the field. That's the thing, is they need guys that are going to get to the field and help them this year. Because the roster is it's not a bad roster, especially if you get Ronnie Stanley to come back healthy and help on the offensive line. And, they have expectations for Bateman, who they picked last year, along with Marquise Brown. And, they throw to the tight end a lot anyway. And then obviously Dobbins coming back healthy.
Yep. And the other thing is if this could be the year where they really get Duvernay involved in the basket game as well, like they have a couple of things over there. It's just about using all of them, and obviously, number 8 being healthy. That goes a long way over there. All right, up next we got the Bengals and the Browns. Your thoughts on the Bengals?
Offensive line. Bengals. I mean, you can never have enough offensive line. Obviously, the Leo Collins choice definitely helps a lot. But interior offensive lineman. Again, you can never have enough corners because they ended up with Eli Apple in a lot of situations last year that could have hurt that could or did hurt them. So I think that's the thing that could be big for them. The young linebackers were actually really good last year. They were impressive. I was really impressed with them. Again, like we said, you can never have enough D linemen. Whether it's interior pressure. I think Hendrickson had a really good year, but again, having an interior push and then a corner to help their safety play was really good. But again, interior offensive lineman, interior defensive line, and a cornerback, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of those. It's just a matter of what's on the board when they pick in each round. But those are the things that need to be addressed. And getting Leo Collins was huge. It was massive, honestly. It was a really big deal. As for the Browns, I think they get to do what they've been doing for the past couple of years, man. They go into yet another draft because of the depth of their roster. And let's be honest, since they only gave up draft picks, in the trade for Deshaun Watson, they still have one of the deepest rosters in the league. So,
right.
Again, for what, the third straight year, they go into the draft living BPA for the entire way, and it is what it is. Because I would be like, oh, they got to go get a wide receiver. Amari Cooper's over there. They got a wide receiver one. You got Donovan Peoples-Jones. You'll be able to draft a wide receiver in any round in this draft. So again, BPA. Still got one of the better offensive lines of football. There's little to no room left in your running back room. Shoot, you had young players you drafted in the past 2 years who couldn't see a healthy diet of snaps on defense. Like, you just have extra. There's literally a surplus of talent in that building. So that's where I'm at with it. What do you see with the Browns, though?
It's funny, I was thinking about it, and they don't really have many holes on that roster. I mean, if I had to nitpick, maybe someone to replace Clowney if he doesn't come back, a base end opposite Myles Garrett. And they were deep at corner, they were deep at safety. You probably use another line. He traded Mac Wilson, but he didn't play much anyway. There's not much there. The offensive line strong. A late round receiver to jump in there with with Schwartz and Cooper and.
See, I forgot about Schwartz. And like you said, maybe somebody opposite Garrett. And even then, this is a great draft class for that, because if you're looking for a complimentary guy, you have that in spades.
Right.
Again, you're Cleveland. You don't need a guy. You got your guy. You got your own personal metahuman as a pass rusher in Garrett, and that's that. You just got to go find good, solid pieces on the other side that are durable and, when needed, when you're one-on-one, bro. That's it. When you're one-on-one.
Yeah. Also, a lot of the colleges now seem to not be lining up their defensive ends wide, so you're not getting as many speed. You're not getting as many speed rushers. You're actually getting more of the base end types that can set the edge and allow guys like Myles Garrett to pin their ears back and rush. Which years ago you were getting a lot of undersized players, but there's more and more guys who are basically lining head up, and which isn't they don't usually have high value, but for what Cleveland needs is actually a valuable piece.
Yeah, and like you said, they don't typically have high value, but for teams that already have a guy or the guy as an edge, this is grocery shopping. It's free. You're just walking through the market like, oh, that's on sale, that's on sale, that's on sale, like literally, because you're just looking for the base down ends. And if some of them have some room to grow, that's great. Like literally, if you get a guy and they average 5 to 7 sacks opposite the guy for their career, that's a great pick.
Right.
Because you don't need them to match Garrett's sack total. You just need them to win their one-on-ones to where you can't shift help to Garrett because the young person on the other side is winning enough. That's it. That's all you really need. All right, we got the Steelers. That's an interesting one. Okay, Michael Kirksey said maybe a defensive tackle for the Browns. Possibly. And again, they're just loaded. They can do whatever they want, especially since they got the quarterback thing situated a little bit. All right, where does Baker go? I have no idea. I know some people are saying Carolina. I'm actually where I was going to say Seattle, right? I don't know if Baker and Pete could be like this. I don't see it. So could Seattle do it? Sure. But then again, they just gave Geno Smith $7 million to return as a backup this week. I think for better or for worse, Drew Lock's going to be the guy this year in Seattle. Could be wrong. Maybe they take Malik Willis or Matt Corral or whatever later, but I don't think they're taking Baker. So I don't know what happens to Baker, honestly. I really don't. You have any thoughts on it?
I'm trying to run through the teams in my mind, but who could actually take him. And those are probably the only two. But he's gonna have to get cut. He's gonna have to get cut because no one's trading for the contract.
I just don't see it. And I think what's it called? They actually rounded out their whole quarterback room while the dude's there. because they just signed
Right.
Josh Dobbs. So they got Watson, Brissett, and Dobbs. Baker's just there because he's there at the moment. So I don't know. Maybe they get a draft day trade or what have you, or maybe, snip, snip. I don't know.
Or somebody's backup is gonna,
Yeah,
he goes somewhere. Someone's backup.
maybe, yeah. And then like even with Carolina, like that's the only other possible place, and I think that's musical chairs between him and Jimmy Garoppolo.
Right.
So I mean that comes down to if Matt Rule, if you're trying to keep your job for a little bit longer, who do you feel can who do you feel can get the job done? Baker or James? For me personally, I feel like you're down bad, and that's a horrible place to be. But that's on you, Carolina. You did this to yourselves. Steelers and Texans.
Steelers. I actually talked to one of my friend, Sid.
Yeah.
Sid. We talked about the Steelers earlier. He's a big time Steelers fan, and he threw a name at me that Trent McDuffie from Washington, just as the point of being able to jump inside because they signed re-signed Witherspoon and they signed Levi Wallace, who Mike Tomlin seems to love him. Love the signing. So I mean, those two are not great corners, but solid corners. But then you add in another corner that can play inside and outside, as opposed to a guy like Booth or I'm sure they don't have a chance of Stingley. But I know the big thing is quarterback, but this team is so close. I don't know if quarterback's the move. That's all. I like Malik Willis. I like these guys. The quarterback class to a degree, but I just feel like this is a talented roster. You know what I mean? Whether it's adding an offensive lineman at some, obviously adding an offensive lineman, but finishing off that defense, and then also bringing in Flores to help out with Tomlin. I think the things they might want to do defensively, but I know a lot of the stuff Flores did was man based. They played a lot of man coverage over in Miami, so I think that would say like we need another corner that can actually guard somebody. I think that's a big thing for Pittsburgh. And then let's see, yeah, I heard Tomlin was saying they're definitely gonna add another receiver just to add depth, and they seem to hit on receivers consistently. But yeah, offensive line, a receiver later, and a DB.
Yeah. Now, like you said, I think the best thing would be getting a corner that can play inside. And if you can accidentally get an edge opposite Watt, cool. Again, back to this thing where we've been saying, this is a great draft for teams that have the guy on edge already. You can literally get somebody. What they had Melvin Ingram for a little bit, right?
Yeah,
Steelers did for a hot second. I'm not saying you're going to get Melvin Ingram, but you don't need someone to match TJ Watt on the opposite side, just like you don't to match Garrett with the Browns. Just go get you somebody who can get pressure. Like that's it. Like go someone to play live Leonard Floyd's life. Keep it a buck. That's all you want someone to do. Where are you that guy? No, probably not. But I'm the guy playing next to the guy. So please, I wish you would leave me one-on-one. And that's it. Take advantage of it. That's all anybody wants or needs. Michael Kirksey was like maybe Pittsburgh or Carolina. Dude, I think they're really just gonna give Mitch a chance and call it a day. And unless they draft a quarterback. Like I do see if Willis is chilling when the Steelers come up, hey, look, man, I think he comes off the board. If he falls that far, I think he comes off the board. But I think it spoke volumes when they just signed Trubisky instead of getting into the nasty, ugly game of musical chairs with James and Baker. I think it spoke volumes, like legit volumes. You got the Texans where they're interesting. I think they're going secondary help. I know Levy was talking about adding to that room. He wasn't a fan of what they were last year. But then I also I know they re-signed Brandon Cooks. You probably want to get another weapon or two on the perimeter. And then obviously, edge rusher, right? Edge rushers, and more edge rushers. You have anything you wanted to add with them, or you want to keep it moving?
Pretty much, like you said, just for them, just football players, like just the best football player you can get. They're so far away that to kind of log in and focus on one position would be stupid. It wouldn't be the wise thing to do because it's just they're not a good football team. They're not in a great place. So anyone that can help, even like Tunsil's getting to the point where they're going to have to pay Tunsil or let him go. So even tackles and something they could consider.
Let me see what else we got. Yes, as well, Michael Kirksey, appreciate you. Yes, sir. Man, the Colts, you got Matt Ryan, right? So you feel okay at quarterback right now. Are you adding to your wide receiver group here?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's something to consider. And they don't have a first. They don't have a first because of the Wentz thing. But yeah, receivers definitely. They've been trying to, with T.Y. Hilton had a great career, but he's injured so often, which hurts them. And Michael Pittman's a good receiver, but adding a receiver to complement Michael Pittman, I think that's big. Running game is their bread and butter. Offensive line is pretty solid, above average actually. And then defensively, they actually had a really good defense last year. There was like you said, there was a point last year where they were on that run and people thought they had a shot. When they had beat a couple of the better teams in the league, but Wentz did a great job bringing them down. So I think adding another weapon to go with Matt Ryan and just having a mature quarterback who's not going to make the mistakes, the backbreaking mistakes. I think that's gonna be a big thing for them because they have a good staff, a good Frank Reich's a great coach, a really good coach, and they seem to always be in the game. So having the right quarterback will help. So adding another weapon is big.
And then we got the Jags. The other thing with the Colts, you need to keep adding to that defensive line. I still feel like they're not getting everything they can get out of their pass rush.
Right.
But again, there's room. There's places you can do that in this draft. All right, this is a fun one. The Jags, sir.
The Jags. Again, another team where you could they paid some receivers this offseason. Whether one could argue it's still a need, but they paid a lot of money for receivers. So I'm mad. You got to assume that they're not going to mess with that. Quarterback's going to probably be left alone. Running back with Etienne coming back and having James Robinson. And then after that, I think it's just, anything. They franchised Cam Robinson, and then they have Jawan Taylor on the other side, but neither one's been great. So you could look tackle, make sure you protect the quarterback, and then obviously edge rusher is someone opposite Josh Allen. That would be a big thing for them. Then secondary they whiffed on a few picks. And actually Tyson Campbell had a good year last year from Georgia. So, but adding a corner across from him, it's just the way this draft's set up and them having early picks. I just think they should just go best player available at every opportunity.
Yeah, like you're talking about with the Jets earlier, just keep adding talent.
Right.
Keep adding talent. But some quick news: Stephon Gilmore has found a home. The Colts 2-year deal. So someone's not playing around. They're ready to win apparently right now. So with that in mind, how do you feel about the Titans knowing what the Colts just got? Sheesh.
That's a good signing for the Colts. Also because the length isn't too crazy, because he's had an injury problem. So you get him for 2 years, and maybe get the last 2 or 3 years before he falls off the cliff. But he's still one of the better cornerbacks in the league. So I'm sorry, Titans. Titans still. The trade for Robert Woods is big just to have another weapon opposite A.J. Brown. Because, obviously I'm not going to say Robert Woods is as good as Julio Jones, but at this point in his career, Robert Woods has been, it's not the same Julio Jones. And Robert Woods, he fits because the Rams had him do a lot of physical things, whether it was blocking or, playing the slot and things like that. So Robert Woods is a good add to that team. You can always add another receiver. Offensive line, definitely an issue. Thinking about opening day where Chandler Jones destroyed Taylor Lewan. So I think that's the thing. Obviously, you're stuck at quarterback for what you have. Secondaries, hopefully you get Caleb Farley comes back healthy. That would help. Linebacker, I think what's his name? One of the linebackers is a free agent, Alabama linebacker. So I don't think they brought him back. So I think that's a weapon. And again, the Titans are a physical team. They play a physical football, and I think that's their thing. So just adding people up front, whether it's offensive, defensive lines, I think that's still going to be their way.
Yeah, for sure. Offensive line for me. You got to, because like you said, what you want to do is run the ball, play action, and go deep.
Right.
Get your O line together, because again, Tannehill is who he is. He's a starter in this league with a little starter plus or whatever if you want to call it. But at the end of the day, he's not the upper echelon guys, which means you got to get this, got to upgrade the things around him. It's the nicest way I could say it.
Right.
And even with having Woods and AJ, go get you something else, and especially in this draft class, go get you another wide receiver, mid rounds, what have you. Go get you something so when you go play action, there's more options. Because it felt like at times, too many times last year, when they went play action, everybody knows where the ball's going.
Right.
At all times. I mean, credit to those guys, they still made plays, but and wouldn't you like to have an option or two? All right, what are the Broncos doing, man? Because we saw them go where they ignored the quarterback thing last year. They had a couple opportunities like, we're going to keep building our roster. Then fast forward a year, here comes Russell. You're looking at their team way differently now because we thought there was going to be a hole under center because everywhere else you were kind of fine with Denver.
Right.
I think they literally get to go through this place BPA and enjoy their life. Like, regardless of what their offensive line looks like, it's better than what Seattle's was. Just not being rude, just being honest. So yeah, you can continue to add there. Man, you can add to your secondary if you want. You want to add linebacker? Like, I don't know. I don't think there's like. I think there's like not a handful, but there's like a short list of teams. I feel like in each conference that are going into the draft when it's literally just BPA because they took care of needs either prior to their free agent acquisitions or just they did a good job building their roster.
Yeah, I agree with that. The patience they showed paid off, because last year everyone was going crazy about taking a quarterback. They took Surtain and it worked out. Again, another position to worry about will be corner, just because, like I said, last year they had 3-4 corners, and you're like, why did they take Surtain? And now he's the main one there. So throwing another corner in there in the mix would help. And then getting a healthy Bradley Chubb. He really hasn't performed the same in the last couple of years, year or two, because he's been injured. But maybe adding another edge rusher wouldn't hurt them, because I think they traded one away in the Russell Wilson trade also. So adding another edge would help them.
Michael Kirksey reminded us they did get Randy Gregory, so
right.
that helps a little bit.
Opposite Gregory. Yep.
Mm. Yeah, we saw that. Kirksey, we saw that. We just put it up on screen a little while ago. Yeah, that's big for them. That's not a bad offseason. Again, they're doing what they're following suit in the AFC. It's a arms race. However you want to get it, it's an arms race. If you're in a place where you can contend, you're better, because other folks, they're doing their part and they're upping the ante. Speaking of which, it's a great segue to this next team because I still feel like regardless of what's going on in the AFC, this is the team everyone's still chasing. And because of what happened this offseason, they got a chance they can put some distance between folks because they can round out their team. And, you and I were talking about this soon as Ty got traded. And it's, dude, like right now, without going into the draft, their wide receiver core is still okay. It's not like it's horrible after Tyreek left. Also, like they're technically their wide receiver one is still 87. So life didn't really change for them. You're going to miss Tyreek Hill for sure. That said, you're the only team in the league that could lose Tyreek Hill and still have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. You're the only team in the league that could do that. And then where they're picking in this draft, look, man, they're in a nice little place. What do you think about them?
Yeah, definitely receivers. Receivers something a position they have to look at. But again, like you said, it's not the end of the world. Losing Tyreek Hill, it opens up a lot of other things for them. They were going to be tight against the cap, and we've seen that their the issue has always been their defense. So maybe just adding in, being able to spread that money between, you're going to spend some of it on the offensive tackle, which you had to. You're going to have to spend some, and then being able to keep some of your defenders and they added Justin Reed, but being able to add up some defensive, another corner, or add, another pass rusher, just be able to add other talent on the defensive side of the ball. Like that'll help them in that way. And then offensively, you don't need you can maybe you're not going to replace Tyreek Hill with one guy, but adding 2 or 3 guys, and again, like you said, a lot of the big plays went to Kelsey anyway. Or, the clutch plays. So I think that's just for them. It's just being able to. It actually lengthens your window. That's what it does.
Yeah.
It lengthens their window because they're able to bring in young talent. Having 2 first-round picks helps, whether they want to move up and get one player or they want to sit there and take 2 guys, along with being able to, say you go get a Visca Chenault or a Will Fuller, or you're getting guys for cheaper money, and that's what they can do when you have a quarterback like this.
Yeah, and I think they're at the place where you're talking about going to get other guys for cheap. I think they already completed that part of it in the wide receiver room. I think now you just get you're adding just a splash of that youth that's going to be here for a while. Because what do they have right now? You got Miko, Juju, in some form or fashion. These are just the names that you have. Valdez Scantlin, Miko, Juju, Josh Gordon's still there. I keep forgetting about him. He's still there. It's still a big body. You have enough bodies. And if you get one of these young speedsters, that there's a few of them out here, that's less pressure on that kid because you don't have to replace Tyreek. The pressure's on Juju, Valdez Scantling, Miko probably has the most pressure because you were there the whole time, kind of like, I'm getting the scraps. Folks looking at you, right? So, hey, whatever wide receiver they get, man, ain't no pressure on you. Just coming in. Hey, look, if I get some scraps, I get some scraps. If I don't, I don't. But they get an option where they're a team where Treylon Burks is chilling at the end of the first round. Why not? Like, you can just do things. If Watson's sliding or whatever you choose to do, one of those quote unquote upper tier wide receivers fall, go crazy. Like you said, you can add edge. You can go get you somebody inside to free up Chris Jones if you want. You're in a good place where you can round out your defense, and I don't think they got credit for it. I think they did a good job with the linebackers they took the last couple of years, where they don't have to mess with that too much. You talked about Justin Reed. You can go safety if you don't like Juan Thornhill that much. Whatever you choose to do, but you're in a good place. I'm sure if they knew they were losing Tyreek, they probably would have gave money to Chardavius Ward, but they didn't know that. Corner I think might be one of those things, but man, luxuries. That's all I got. Luxuries. The Raiders is another place. Do you feel like they have to after getting Devontae?
I think Raiders are actually they're pretty good with the weapons on offense. Whether it's they have Jacobs, they got Waller, they got Renfro, Adams. I mean, so maybe another receiver outside the team up to another outside receiver would help. But they got to get Leatherwood fixed on the offensive line.
Yep.
That's a big thing. Colton Miller actually turned out to be a good offensive lineman. So I mean, maybe you add another tackle opposite him. Defensively, obviously, you can always add talent. I think that they signed a corner, I believe.
I forgot who it was, but the other thing you got to remember, they got Chandler. You got Chandler Jones and Max Crosby together.
Right.
Yeah.
They're in a good spot. They actually are actually somehow being underrated. That's a playoff team. As much as we talk about the Chargers, they beat the Chargers last year to make the playoffs with a lesser roster than they have right now.
You said out of wide receiver late in draft, they got weapons. Yeah, the other thing, with Devontae Adams going over there, I think a guy that gets left out a little bit, they got Brian Edwards.
Right. Okay.
Brian Edwards is still over there. Big physical metahuman is over there. And with Devontae, people are going to forget about him a lot. So Brian Edwards, with Devontae and Renfro, Brian Edwards is going to start getting most teams' third corner. That's a whole lot to deal with for your third corner, be completely honest. There's nothing stopping them from adding wide receiver. But you got to shore up their defense. But I like what they did. They definitely supercharged their pass rush, which was kind of a theme for a lot of teams, especially out west. All right, so the Chargers, how you feel about them? Do you think they need to go ahead and add to their offensive line? Hit the pick out the park last year, getting Rashawn Slater. Kid's gonna be all pro.
Right.
Do you go get somebody to be his bookend immediately?
For me, I think you could always go that route, but for me, I think especially with this draft where they pick, I remember seeing them getting gassed in the run game a lot last year.
Yep.
And the way that Brandon Staley plays defensively, you need a big nose tackle or someone to take on double teams, and stop the run. Because I mean,
I know what
that
name
was
you're
their
gonna
big
say.
issue.
Is the person
So
you're thinking of? Did he play at Georgia? The person you're thinking
yeah,
of?
that
Yeah.
might be the way. That might be somewhere they can go. You know, definitely just a big body would be somewhere they need because they don't really again adding Khalil Mack to Bosa and Derwin James and things like and the guys they have like that's a talented defense. So
Yeah.
really, maybe unless you look corner, they actually signed J.C. Jackson. So really, that's the place to go. Finish off that defense. Finish off that defense with a defensive tackle. Not even for sacks. Just run stuffer. Take on double teams and allow these other guys to run free.
Yeah. Yeah. Like again, go get you somebody. Help Joey Bosa out the way that his young brother gets helped out. Go get you somebody to take folks up off him. Especially again, I keep forgetting, man, they got Khalil over there. Like the AFC is on some other stuff and has been this entire offseason. Like really has been. All right, going to the NFC East. How about that? First thing that pops up. Justin, you're a Dallas Cowboys.
The new front off. No, for them, guard, wide receiver. You know, wide receiver is a bigger need than we say because Michael Gallup's out till midseason. You know what's looking like. James Washington signing doesn't really do much for me. CeeDee Lamb is, they've given a lot to CeeDee Lamb. We just need to see more. You know, it's not whether it's some of it's scheme based, whether some of it's on him, but it is they just need to add another receiver, interior line. You know, they let Connor Williams go, so another guard, and that's if they have confidence in Terrence Steele at the other tackle position. So that's for them. They're in a spot where they kind of they're not locked in at one position, but they definitely a receiver, guard, and then defensively another end to replace Gregory. I think that would help. And then again, corner. We don't know what's going on with. I heard something with Kelvin Joseph yesterday. I don't know how what's going on with that. Which that could set them back. Again, someone losing their life is never. It's more important than football, but that could open up a need at corner. Just for them, I think just sounds like Jerry's involved, so you never know what's going to happen. But sounds like
anything's
they're looking
involved at that. Anything's possible at that point. Yeah, anything and everything is on the board.
It's a deep wide receiver class too this year, so I think that would help.
And I think for them, how they go about their business offensively, they can find someone in the role that they wish to have someone fill, because they clearly have determined who their wide receiver 1 is, who their wide receiver 2 is. Go get you a guy to take the top off and call it a day, and if that's their role, so be it. But yeah, they got to address that offensive line for me. I don't care when they do it, but that offensive line is lacking. It's not what it once was. They need to get that together ASAP. All right, we got the Giants, new regime. Don't know what the heck they're going to do. They're trying to, get things. Yeah, that's the one thing Jerry ain't doing. He's a Cowboy for life. I don't know where the Giants are going. It's a new regime. If they're trying to get right, you got 3 picks in the top 36. I feel like, honestly, now we talked about Miami at one point, and what Cleveland really just did, build out your roster, do process of elimination under center, and go on with your life. That's me personally.
Yeah. Hey, they seem to believe in Daniel Jones for whatever reason. So I don't think they're going to go quarterback, but cornerback can be something to be considered, because you hear whispers of them trying to trade Bradbury for whatever reason.
Right.
He's actually been a pretty good player, I thought. But they're maybe a tackle opposite Andrew Thomas.
Yes.
Or that would help, because you want to see what you got out of Barkley and Daniel Jones. I mean, that's the thing is you got two, especially Barkley, but you haven't seen from them. You haven't have a fair evaluation of them, because your line's been bad and there's always injuries and things like that. And the receivers, they paid Galladay last year, and what's his name? I was going to say Callaway. The Florida receiver looked pretty good last year in a little bit of time he had. Tony.
Kadarius Toney. Yep.
Yeah, he looked pretty good. He looked decent last year. I think they still have Sterling Shepard. So receiver's not a huge thing, but you can always add one. I think defensively, just talent. I think just adding talent on the defensive end. Xavier McKinney is actually a really good player, safety. But other than that, I mean, there's a lot of openings, a lot of holes there.
On to one of their division foes, Eagles. Look, man, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. Get Devontae some help. So you can get the most out of Devontae, and honestly, you can get the most out of Jalen, so you can figure out, like we were just talking about with the Giants. We don't work for the Eagles. Nobody knows exactly how they feel in the building about Mr. Hurts. What we do know thus far is they didn't move him. They haven't tried to replace him at this point in the offseason. And like you were talking about it with a fair evaluation of the guys over in New York. Yeah, improve the playmakers on the offensive side of the ball for the Eagles. Whether it's at running back, wide receiver, you're comfortable at tight end, you got a wide receiver, go figure it out. And then defensively, they don't have a bad defense. Just add talent as you see fit. But I think though, like their priority, you at least need to get a partner for Devontae Smith. That's just where I'm at with it.
I agree with that. A bigger target, preferably, a bigger body.
Yes.
Because we know what Smith is, and then the other receivers they have are all small too. So,
and the other thing, my bad. My bad. The other thing is the way Jalen likes to kind of avoid throwing it over the middle of the field. Anyways, he likes trying to paint the sidelines. Yeah, go get you somebody who can go reach the top shelf and pull the ball down on sideline passes, things of that nature. But go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No worries. Maybe a corner opposite Slay. That would help. Slay had a great year last year. They've always seemed to have different issues at linebacker. They brought in a guy from the Chargers who could help, but again, they've been struggling at linebacker for years now. Yes. And then they've been along the D line also because they brought back Fletcher Cox, but that was at a reduced deal, so his time is running out. So I think that would also help.
Yeah, I think they're also one of the teams where they're picking, like, you can go wide receiver and Devin Lloyd right there if you want to. Try to go ahead and fix in the middle of your defense, especially in this good old passing league. People that don't have linebackers that can run and cover. It's bad. It's really, really, truly bad and tough on your defense. All right, I think this is what Mr. Kirksey is here for. Washington Commanders. Where are you at with them?
Yeah, Commanders. I think like he was saying, like they lost Landon Collins, so adding a safety wouldn't hurt. But again, they need a difference maker because that defensive line is still one of the better, most talented defensive lines in the league. If they get everyone together on the same page. Mm-hmm. Offensively, McLaurin and Gibson, are two. That's a good start right there. And if you get the early version of Wentz, maybe things are a little different. But again, defensively, I think maybe another linebacker. What else? Again, the pass rush should be better. The defense was bad last year, and it really was surprising, actually. I think who's their corner? I think they got. Don't they have one of the Fullers?
They got a Fuller and I think William Jackson outside.
Yeah, right. So they're pretty good there. I think adding a linebacker and maybe if Hamilton could be what we want him to be. I mean, what people are saying he is, because that just allows him to be a cleanup player. With that front, allows him to kind of bounce between the linebacker safety area and make plays. I think that would be a good pick for him if he's that guy.
Yeah, I think for them, honestly, and for Hamilton, I don't like the fit because I don't trust that they'll be able to use him correctly to maximize him, right? I think they need to go get kind of more of an easier plug-and-play safety. Obviously, someone who's very talented. But, like, if I'm them, like, go get your Petre, go get Lewisine, go get you those guys where it's kind of like easy. In my mind, you don't have to do too much with them. To maximize them, right? So you put them in and you keep it moving. Kirksey said, watching these depth at everything except the D-line. And they got St. Juiced out there. It's my guy last year, one of my draft crushes last year was St. Juiced. I think the biggest thing for me, you have to find a linebacker. Like the youngster they took last year, he's good. You need to find the guy next to him to get the most out of him. And again, where they're picking, if I'm gonna keep, y'all are just gonna have to accept this. If Devin Lloyd's available when your team's picking, this is what I'm recommending. So y'all just got to get over this and get by this, what have you. Or you can go after one of the Georgia kids at linebacker if you so choose. It's none of my business. I don't make decisions for anybody's team. But that's kind of where I'm at with it. I know Washington in the first round, where they picking in the first round? They 11. So yeah, he said let Curl play strong and let Kyle play free. Yeah, but I think you let Kyle just play strong in the perfect world, man, and just let him be special. Let him be a box safety plus. You know what I'm saying? I don't want him over the top of anything if I don't have to, unless he's being paired with somebody equally as special.
Right.
So that's just
Interchangeable, yeah.
yeah. Then it's different because you're not losing anything. But you talk about Jamin Davis in the middle. Yeah, fix the middle of the defense. Fix the middle of the defense. Fix the middle of the defense. Fix the middle of the defense.
I think, like you
Especially with
said,
that defensive line.
Jamin Davis needs Jamin Davis needs like a big brother. You know,
Yeah.
I think
Yep.
the talent's there, but just someone to kind of direct a little bit. And again, a guy like Lloyd who's been the man in college for 3-4 years, kind of like has the reps.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Davis came on late in the process last year, so he wasn't even expected to go that high. So basically, just take last year as a redshirt year, and if you could throw someone next to him, and again, if you look at that defense, and if Davis is the player that lives up to his draft status, there's a lot of talent on that defense. I mean, trying to figure out how to pay him, that's another issue, but there's not a lot of holes there. You know, maybe you could grab one of the Baylor safeties late to play free safety. You know,
Right.
maybe that and now that allows you to, because maybe Curl can come down the box, and now you add a deep safety who can actually help make plays deep. You know, one of those track kids that just sees the ball. He sees the ball and goes and gets it.
So unlike the Apke thing where it's just pure speed, you get speed plus instincts, where you actually got a good football player. But yeah, they got to fix the middle of the defense, and I felt bad for Jamin Davis last year because he kind of asked to do some stuff he wasn't quite ready to do. But yeah, like you said, he needs a big brother, man. Goes a long way. Devin White came in the league, got to play next to one of the greatest big brothers. You said who's the Lloyd kid we're talking about? So Devin Lloyd is kind of like your how can I say this without anybody getting too crazy? He's he's similar to Fred Warner. I think that's the safest thing. There's some similarities between him and Fred in terms of their size, their athleticism, good in coverage. The thing that makes him different from Fred when Fred came out, Fred at BYU was used more in coverage. He was almost like a third safety on the field versus Lloyd, who got so, like Justin said, he got a ton of reps as an in-the-box linebacker. But he was used all over the front of their defense. So his name's Devin Lloyd. Mr. Kirksey, go ahead, check that out. That could be somebody where you plug him in next to Jamin, and then y'all can start getting the most out of Jamin. Because, two physically gifted kids in the middle of the defense never hurts. All right, Justin, on to the Bears and the Lions. We're getting through this list a little bit. We're getting there.
There we go. Bears. I actually just I'm reading up on the Bears. What their thing? Weapons, obviously. They seem really high on Mooney. Darnell Mooney. They're really high on Darnell Mooney, but I just don't see that being your number one weapon. I think they need a go-to receiver, a bigger body guy. And the thing with Fields is more of a downfield thrower anyway. So getting him a guy that can run the deep in routes, the post routes, stuff like that. I think a target like that. And this draft's full of those. And again, they don't have a first-round pick because of the trade last year. So, a big target would help. Offensive line help. Always can use help on the offensive line. And then obviously a strong safety, someone to play next to Eddie Jackson would help. And another pass rusher, obviously, because they got rid of Mack. And Robert Quinn had a great year last year for them. They again, for them, it's just adding talent, But again, another receiver is going to be a big thing because part of their process is seeing what they have in Justin Fields, like we talked about with a lot of the other quarterbacks, is like just making it easier for him, like giving him weapons and actually seeing what you need in the future for him.
All right. Mr. Kirksey said Bears wide receiver help. Yeah, they're one of those teams where, look, man, they're going through their little rebuild right now. I'm gonna take a page out of Justin's book, man. They just need to add talent. across the board. Like coming at whatever's whatever the BPA looks like, I can't get mad at you if you go BPA the whole way through the draft, Bears, because the sad part is you probably need it. So I can't tell you you're wrong. That's what I can't do at all.
And by the time you get good, most of the guys that are there, the guys that are there now that you're picking around, they're not gonna. You're gonna be deciding to let them walk by that time anyway. So
yep. But yeah, just do the right thing, man. It's really simple. All right, on to the Detroit Lions, which is really interesting. I don't think they're as far off as everybody tried to dismiss them last year. They were a very annoying team for teams to play last season. Excuse me. A lot of that had to do because teams in this league don't like playing physical teams. The one thing the Lions were over the top physical. They got a luxury where they're choosing this draft. They can go so many different places. I'm not gonna lie. If it's me, man, I know you just drafted Penei Sewell. I know it. I get it. Dude, there's no way in heck I'm looking at Evan Neal in his face and walking away. Be real honest, Justin, I can't do it. I can't do it. I probably won't do it. I know a lot of people want them to go edge. You can get edges in this draft, man. I don't think there's a big gap between the edges at the so-called top from the rest of the field, so to speak. But I mean, I'm not mad at them for wherever they might go. But they just have to add talent. They've been kind of quiet in free agency, just solidly adding talent to their roster. They might get a quarterback at some point, which is cool. But yeah, they just have to keep adding talent. But yeah, Justin, what I was saying while you were going is it'd be hard for me if I'm the Lions. I know I took Sewell last year. I'm not looking. It's hard for me to look Evan Neal right in his face and not take him if he's there. Like I just feel like that's one of those things where it's the best of the best of bad problems, like the best of good problems. Like one of y'all play right tackle, it doesn't even matter. I got 2 left tackles, which means if one of y'all could play right, I feel bad for the people who line up on the right. Like I'm gonna be fine. I could trust each of you guys to handle technically, ideally, top grade pass rushers, which means my quarterback should be comfortable, whether it's Jared or a young guy you get later. But I think that's an opportunity where even when it comes time to paying them, you can always go the route where the 2 tackles are getting paid and I'm interchanging my 3 interior pieces every other couple years. I'm never paying an interior lineman. I'm just going to keep paying the bookends. And what I know for sure is ain't nobody doing nothing to me. Like when I see those top-notch pass rushers, I'm relaxed. I'm comfortable. We're going to do what we want to do. If I want to run the ball, both the left and the right, I don't have to think about it. I don't have to set it up. We're just going to do it. But of course they can go Hutchinson if they so choose. That's their business. I'm not going to get mad at them. I also think you can go Stingley if you want. They got the luxury to take whatever they want. Again, my advice is if you're picking that high, swing for the fence. No ground rule doubles, man. It's just me.
No, I agree with you on that. Again, with this team having a pick so early, picking second in a draft where there's only, you could argue there's less than 5 top-notch players. So taking a guy like Neal, you're getting one of the best players in the draft, or maybe the best player in the draft. So I think in that situation, and being that they want to be a physical team, that's gonna push them quick. That's gonna actually raise them quicker than trying to. You're not gonna where they're at now. You're not gonna out talent people because you're starting from such a deficit. But like the way they played last year, they added a lot of D tackles and they added a bunch of physical players last year. So finishing that off with Neal, or like you said, at some point, I wouldn't take a quarterback at 2 in this draft, but just adding the pieces around that position. So when it's time, whether it's at 30, whether it's in the second round, whether it's next year, just keep adding talent and adding like really good football players who can kind of set the tone for what your roster wants to be. And again, it's not a bad team. If you they got some young guys last year. They got some guys that they kind of rehabilitated that were on other teams that didn't have success, but they came over here and they have a good young staff too. Watch them at the Senior Bowl with what was it, Deuce Staley, Antoine Randall, guys like that. You could see that those coaches really believe that they can take guys and make them better. And I think that's a big thing with what they're doing. They have a decent receiving core with Josh Reynolds, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and they signed DJ Chark to a 1-year deal. And sounds like they want to sign him longer, but it was just giving him a year to prove himself. I'd like to see with the line getting better, maybe you get a better version of DeAndre Swift, who's a talented running back. So now you start looking at what you have, and now offensively you add in a guy like Neal. All you're really waiting for is, okay, do we move up next year to take a Bryce Young or take the Ohio State quarterback, or who knows what happens next year with, every year there's a quarterback. Kyler's free. Like, you never really know how, and I think what they're doing is just stay patient and just keep adding pieces. I think that's the way to go for them.
Yeah, you could do the Broncos thing. Mind your business, build your team, and when somebody gets to tripping about a quarterback, you got assets. All the assets in the world to spend because you build a good roster. And those assets you don't even care about. For all we know, Arizona gets through this year with Kyler, and it's World War V next season once the season ends. And Kyler might be looking for a home, and you're over there like, hey, what do you want? I'll give you all of this stuff. Like you guys are over there like with Denver. What are picks? What are picks? What do picks mean? I drafted well. The Packers, he said, let's see what A-Rod's made of. No weapons, man. Sheesh. I think they're going to address the weapons part. You're not replacing Devontae Adams in the form of one or two people. What you can do, and I'm interested to see if Aaron's okay with this, is that system he plays in, it does wonders for quarterbacks far less talented than Aaron Rodgers. People are routinely schemed open. I'm not worried about that. It's just Aaron being patient enough to not do Aaron things and run LaFleur's offense. If he does that, they'll be okay. Yeah, you're not going to have Devontae doing freaky Devontae things 3 to 5 times a game. That's cool. It's going to stink for a little bit. But if in that offense, you're running the ball, you go play action, you're Aaron freaking Rodgers going play action against the defense. You got the advantage, man. You got the advantage. And then now, because of whatever y'all did and Devontae's gone, you might have to actually get other people involved. You got a good tight end in Tunyon. You can build a wide receiving core out of this draft, man. It is what it is. Again, you're not replacing Devontae Adams. Let that ship sail. Accept it. Get over it. It is what it is. You got multiple talented running backs. Aaron Jones is a factor in the passing game. You talk about he still got his buddy Cobb. Yeah, man, I ain't yeah, that's cool. Does Cobb still have Cobb? Yeah, I would just add talent, man. Add wide receiver and keep it moving. They're still gonna be dangerous. You know what I'm saying? But you got a chance if you're Green Bay. You can go in here, you can walk out with Burks and Watson, and I'm gonna look at you like, hey, that's not bad. If you want to, So we shall see. Because obviously, defensively, yeah, you got to address a couple things, but bigger issue right now. There's a legit priority right now. You need weapons for your Hall of Fame quarterback to throw to.
Right. So yeah, that's what receivers definitely obviously a place to go. And again, we give them a chance. It's not a bad team to be like. I think they showed a lot last year because you're bringing Jair.
Oh, my bad. They just signed Sammy Watkins. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, whatever that means, but
whatever that means.
Sammy Watkins is talented, but just adding other weapons around the quarterback and him actually using them. This is going to force him to use them. That's the thing, is it's going to force him, because most of the teams that run this offense, they're more run based.
Mm-hmm.
They're the only one that kind of was hesitant to throw the ball more, and they ran more, and that's probably why they've had more success. But having the quarterback they have and him being able and willing to spread the ball around allows this offense to really take off, because A.J. Dillon gives them something that they've never had. They've been bullied for so long, but having a guy that can actually bully the defense a little bit and then allows Aaron Jones to kind of mix in catching the ball and running the ball, which he's been a really good player as well. But add some weapons as receiver. I think they lost one of the Smiths, one of the defensive end when they
lost Zadarius. He was in Minnesota now. Yep.
Right, but even then, I mean, Rashawn Gary looked like he stepped up a little bit. But you can never have enough edge. But again, Jair Alexander was out the whole season, so having him back, that's gives him a legit top 10, top 5 corner.
The young corner you liked last year that came out from Georgia is over there too. Stokes is over there.
Stokes is there.
Yeah,
And
Stokes
then
is
they
over there like this.
re-signed
Solid.
Rasul Douglas. Had a
Yep.
good year. They
Yep.
re-signed him. So, I mean, their defense played well. That's not why they lost in the playoffs.
No.
So, really, the offense let them down.
Yeah, they just look, man. They got 2 picks like in the 20s. I think it's like 22 and 29 or something like that. Hold on. Yeah, 22 and 28. Sorry. Yeah. You can go wide receiver, then go live your life as BPA for the rest of the draft. Like,
Right.
just get it out the way early. And you got, you got 2 swings at wide receiver before some teams get a chance at it for the first time. That's it.
I'm pretty sure the Raiders gave him a second also. So, I mean, that, even if you go receiver once and then receiver later in the second, that wouldn't hurt either. If you go receiver and best player available.
They got 53 and 59. So yeah, again, like for me personally, I'm getting it out the way early. I'm going wide receiver. I'm ending this as quick as possible because I want as high I can get to top end talent immediately. Because I don't got time to wait. Because like you guys said, Randall ain't Randall and Sammy ain't Sammy. I ain't got time for that. I ain't got time for that at all. Get as talented kids you can get in here and we figure it out. Get used to your new quarterback. We're here now. We're here. What is it? Lazard's the only one that was left, right? Of all the people so tis what it is. All right, Minnesota's interesting because they've been kind of productive this offseason. I liked getting Zadarius Smith. That was a positive thing. I'm never mad at teams getting more pass rushers, but what do you think they need to do?
Corners is obviously a position of need for them. I've heard a lot of if Stingley makes it there, to have him there with Peterson as his big, like a big brother type thing. But that would be a great pick for him. And in my mind, there's no reason he should even be there. But if for some reason
they pick at 12, yeah.
I mean that's what the mocks are saying. But I just can't see why he would be there. And again, you can always add offensive line. I'm assuming the quarterback position is what it is. It's just going to be what it is. That's just that's the deal they signed and keep re-signing. Whatever that is, that's what they're doing. Offensive line obviously needs to improve. And defensive, it's weird because there's a talent. They have talent on that team. If you look at between running back, receiver, hopefully Anthony Barr comes back healthy. Kendricks is one of the better linebackers in the league. Hunter, if I'm assuming he's going to play. What's going on with I keep hearing trade talks and all that, but having Hunter and signing Smith and Barr coming back, teams should be better, and that division is kind of coming back to them a little bit, but they have to make a move, whatever that is.
Yeah, Kirksey, we all need Kirk's agent, boy.
Yeah, right?
The best ever. Jerry Maguire ain't got nothing on Kirk's agent. Atlanta Falcons. Look, man, I'm gonna sum this up real easy. BPA whole way through. Best player available. Nothing matters for you this year, anyways. Just add as much stockpile talent. Get Kyle Pitts, other people his age, and hopefully in a year you go for it and everybody takes a step. This is the path that you chose. Like,
it's a rebuild. It's a rebuild.
They hit the big red button to reset it. It is what it is. So
I'm
not even wasting time.
Respect them for doing it. Respect them for tearing it down early. I mean, they could have did it last year, but
yeah, they got some things to figure out. Hey, look, Jesse, you don't even know. You have no idea. Wizards Outlook's the comment section. Yeah, you have no idea, man. And Kirksey's one of the more respectful ones, so yeah, he has no idea. He said, "Make Ridley stay in the dome." Man, they just gotta add talent, man. Because even the following year when Ridley comes back, they're probably just gonna trade him for a little bit less than what they were gonna trade him for this year. Because he was on his way out before that he got in trouble. He was on his way to Philadelphia.
Right.
Signed, sealed, and delivered, and got hemmed up at the post office. It was tough. All right, Carolina, man. I'm gonna let you go.
Yeah, I made the mistake of watching the GM interview, and he found every way possible to say why Sam Darnold was not going to play quarterback this year, and I believe him. I believe him. I just don't. I don't like Pickett at 6, but they seem to like him. He mentioned between quarterback and offensive line, so that's what their fight is in that top pick. And there's 3 tackles that could go early. Maybe they take one of them, but they've been at every pro day, and I've seen the guy measuring Pickett's hands and all that stuff. And I think they've seen Willis, so I mean that maybe they go quarterback because they've definitely been in on every quarterback. That's been they thought they had Watson for the last year and a half, and that didn't work out. So I think quarterbacks are definitely what they're after, and they made no type of they've been on it, no type of smoke screens or anything. But again, I think I'd go tackle and wait the quarterback thing out, but it doesn't seem like they're going to go that route.
Yeah, so for me, I think they're going to trade back because that's just what their GM does. I think they're going to trade back. Okay, so they're either trading back or they're taking one of those tackles that's chilling at 6 that they feel shouldn't be there, and you just can't pass it up, right? You take a tackle there, or you trade back. It sounds like no matter what, Sam Darnold's not playing. Cool. Quarterback-wise, I think they might take one in the second round or third round if they got – hold on, let me make sure they got picks in the second and third round before I say all that. What are we talking about? Carolina, right?
Yeah. They have actually some talent on defense. They have some, we got Burns, you got Chin, you got J.C. Horn. So I mean, they have some players on defense. So it's not an empty, not a terrible roster. And they got off to a good start last year also.
Hold on, I don't think they have a bunch of picks, man.
Well.
Yeah, I don't think they got a bunch of picks.
Their issue is if they don't win, they might all be gone. The front office and the staff might be out of there. So that.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Yeah. Hold on. My bad. Officially set. Okay. So yeah, here you go. They don't have a second and third round pick.
Ooh.
So they got first round, fourth round, fifth round. They got a 1, a 4, 2 5s, 1 6, and 1 7.
Should probably consider moving down.
Yeah. So I think they trade back, right? Possibly pick up multiple because a top 10 pick's going to get you multiple picks, right? You can trade that, fall back, get you what you need to get, like you said, if it's a quarterback or what have you. And I think what they're going to end up doing, as much as I was watching something last night and it started to make a little sense, and I wasn't too happy with it. James is, oh my God, Darnold's going to get traded for Garoppolo. And this is where I've come to accept a little bit. Don't like it or what have you, but I think Darnold's going to get traded for Garoppolo. If you trade them, it's only a $9 million difference between what you're paying for Darnold and what you're paying for Garoppolo. Obviously, it makes no sense to keep both of them on your team from a financial standpoint. You're probably going to have to work something out with San Francisco for them taking Darnold. And if you don't have any mid-round picks this year, it'd be a pick the following year. And then maybe Darnold has to fix his deal because I doubt he's getting $18 million to be a backup. But that's the only way you're moving Sam Darnold is if you give something up. And I mean, the alternative is you trade for Baker. Maybe you do that. But if dude's under pressure to win, it might be easier to sell like, hey, we went with the guy who just wins or whatever. It's Carolina's issue. Again, a place I'd never want to be in life. That's on them. We'll see how that goes. But that's what they might end up doing. And then you can take a quarterback later with one of those mid-round picks after you trade back. And there's no pressure on the kid. The pressure just be on Jimmy, which is ideally where you want it to be. You want to get whatever veteran quarterback you bring in, whether it's Baker or Jimmy, you want it to be somebody who's fine with the pressure being on them. Why you go back to doing what you've been doing, which is not, just being mediocre to a standpoint. All right, the Saints and the Bucks. This should be fun because the Saints moved up. I don't know what they're up to. I think actually we have an idea what they're up to. They lost to Ron Armstead, right? You got to replace Teron Armstead. Cool. You don't have maybe you want to pair Michael Thomas with another certified, bona fide, talented wide receiver outside, especially since you went from having a quarterback who dinks and dunks to one who's literally like bombs away. So that's where I think they're moving up for. But what do you think?
I think the same. I think like a lot of people are assuming that the trade up is for quarterback, but it kind of works funny that the two picks they have kind of match up to the two major needs. Like that team is not. It's always been a really good roster. And as Drew just got older and different injuries along the way, and they've always been 50 to 100 million over the cap, but they seem to be able to juggle that pretty well. Obviously, losing Marcus Williams hurts, but they still have Lattimore, Chauncey Gardner Johnson. They have a lot of weapons, players on defense. So finishing off that offense with, like you said, a deep threat or someone to open up the field for Michael Thomas if he's healthy, and then a tackle to replace Armstead. It kind of just puts them right there because they were a playoff team last year. If things they were close, the last team out with Jameis missing most of the season, and even the tight end quarterback missing games, and they were
Let's say some Hill.
they were winning. They were winning with him. They were winning with him too. So they were down to Ian Book and down to another third string guy, and they beat Tampa twice with whoever playing quarterback. So they're right there. So I think that's how they're looking at it, and they've got the same staff, but minus Peyton. So maybe they're just saying we'll run it back and fill these two holes, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's exactly what they're thinking because what their defense did last year was nothing short of amazing. There's nothing you need to address. And the thing is, you trade it up or whatever, right? You get those. If you identify those two needs, then it's BPA the rest of the way. You can add depth to your defense, offensive line, what have you, if you need. But those are the two clear priorities they have, and I think that's why they traded up. It's to check those boxes. Boom, boom, get them out the way. And if I need those things, I want to take a swing where I get quality talent with it, if I can. Which again, adult decisions by a team that's trying to contend. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, what are they doing?
Tampa Bay, who'd they lose? Then they had a couple interior offensive linemen retire.
Yeah,
they brought one in from New England, but I think they lost two guys. I think the center came back, right?
The center came back. They lost Ali Marpet and I think the other guard. So then they traded for Shaq Mason, which isn't bad at all. That's like not a bad consolation prize in the least bit.
It's what's funny is everyone says how much Belichick and Brady must not like each other, but he keeps giving them weapons, giving them.
I'm saying though, like don't tell me they're not cool when you were like, dang, they can't protect you. Here's Shaq Mason, Tom.
For nothing, for a fifth or something. So
here's somebody who knows you already. He's comfortable playing with you. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I think they're getting old along the defensive line. You got Pierre Paul, you got I don't even know if Pierre Paul left or not, but I don't think Sue came back yet. I don't think he's still out there free agency.
Yeah, no Sue and no JPP.
Okay.
And OJ Howard went to the Bills. So those are the things at the moment that have happened. Gonna move on to the Cardinals at the moment. I think Justin will return in just a minute. I think I got a message from him as to why. And there he goes. Welcome back, sir.
Don't worry. I got booted.
That's all good. But yeah, man, they're in a good place, man. They brought back most of the starters or whatever. You lost a couple depth, a couple pieces. Like I know they lost the safety and Whitehead. The things that they lost, they can shore up in this draft because again, the teams that are already contenders, this draft is perfect for you. I need depth. I just need a starter, like starter caliber play. I don't need you to be great. I need a starting caliber player. You can find those.
Right.
And again, it's not like they're the starting caliber players they're looking for need to be game changers. If they are, it's a plus. If they aren't, cool. It is what it is.
Just do your job types. They just do your job player. Yeah.
Hey, Antoine Winfield's over there. Make sure you have his back. Got you, coach. Hey, up front, keep Devin White and Levante clean. Got you, coach. Hey, rush the passer. Okay. Cool. Interior, if you're up front in the interior, hey, protect Tom. All right. I don't think it's too difficult what they're asking of people. All right, on to the last. We get to the NFC West. So Arizona, amidst all the noise, a lot of noise in this division at this moment. What's going on with Kyler, yada yada yada. I guess they'll figure it out. So either he's under contract for 2 more years, ideally, pretty much. He wants his money now. He would like to be paid immediately. So we'll see what happens with them as far as how that works out. But going into the season, they lost some pieces. You lost Christian Kirk. You can replace that. You lost Chase Edmonds, which I'm more concerned about, honestly. I know they re-up with AJ Green. You still got D-Hop. I think you got to add some more youth to that the offensive weapons. I know you got Rondale, but I think you need another like legitimate outside guy. Since you got D-Hop and AJ, and age matters. At some point, it's gonna hurt. And then defensively, just continue to add. I like what they've done with their defense. They got a young, very talented defense. But yeah, I would focus on the offensive side of the ball, continue to improve the offensive line, and then they got to go after a couple edge rushers, at least one, man. Chandler Jones has some big shoes to fill. Chandler Jones was amazing for them during his tenure there. So, what do you think about the Cards?
No, same thing there. And like you're saying, Hopkins has been injured the last couple of years. So, as good as a player as he is, and he's one of the highest paid players in the league at receiver. But replacing him, or not replacing, but just having someone when he goes down to be able to step up or just to add to what he brings, because AJ Green isn't the same AJ Green, and Rondale Moore is more of a, I don't want to say gadget guy, but he'll do a lot more slot and that type of thing. And then they re-signed Connor, who had a really good year last year, but still, Edmonds is more of a threat to me. Like, was more of a a pass receiver threat and that type of thing. So I think a running back later, obviously, gotta make the offensive line better, because there's a lot on Kyler's plate, having him moving around and having to do everything. And then defensively, I think a lot of the weapons are there. It's just them learning to play together and putting them all in the right spots, because they're kind of similar. They kind of drafted linebackers back to back that kind of, they're trying to put them in positions, and they really are still figuring out where to put some of these guys. So I think that, and then you can always another secondary guy, maybe a corner, to help add to that defense.
Yeah, all right. On to the Rams. The team with the mantra, F them picks. Quietly though, they draft well. Outside of the picks that they give up. Their first pick in this draft comes in round 3. After that, they got a couple comp picks for the rest of the way. Again, man, just starting caliber players. That's it. You need a starting caliber corner. You need a couple of starting caliber interior offensive linemen. Or, I'm sorry, starting caliber offensive linemen, because you don't have Andrew Whitworth and Austin Corbett left in free agency. So, Darius Williams is gone. I have no faith that I have no doubt that they'll find a corner. They'll do that again. Like, you just need to find someone to play in the same secondary as Jalen Ramsey. Life will go on. All right. When stuff gets tough, Jalen's a guy that moves around. You'll be fine, guys. You'll be okay. For me, I just think it's simple. They'll be fine. I'm not worried about them the least bit. You?
Right. The spirit, like you said, spare parts, just filling in some open. Like, we didn't know who Darius Williams was a couple years ago. Now he's getting money. We didn't know John Johnson. He was going. Like, they're kind of just adding players that, and what they do is, I think that they don't have early picks because they don't really care about those type of things. But adding in guys who can play their job, consistent guys who, if they tell you to stand here, he stands there. He does his job, makes off-field tackles. Even if you're going to play backside corner, you're going to have help because Jalen doesn't. Defensive line, a pass rusher, your job is just do this because we have Aaron Donald. And, Floyd turned out to be a really good player. Von Miller's gone, so they'll have to figure out how to work around that. But they at some point, I wouldn't be surprised if they make a move during the season to add a star again anyway. But you don't know what's going to happen with Odell, if they're going to bring him back for a reduced price with injury. They have Allen Robinson. Whitworth leaving is a big thing. But I'm sure they just seem to have a plan. We don't always know what it is, but they're going to work their way around it. And, maybe add some older veterans to jump on and bring Chase with them.
Yeah, and that's the thing they have in their back pocket. Anybody that's a contender, any sport, there's always going to be starting caliber vets that are like, all right, look, the market dried up. If I'm going to be here and not get paid a lot, I might as well go play for a contender. Let me go get something out of this. So, they got that in their back pocket. I wouldn't be shocked if they get like 2 to 3 starters out of this draft, just because that's what they've been doing consistently over the past couple of years. On to the Niners. I'll let you go first on that one, and then we'll wrap up with Seattle.
Niners. I think for them, just depth, just overall roster depth. I think they're the one thing they've always that I like about them that most people don't realize is they have a plan. They seem to execute a plan, it's just they're deep at receiver and different body types, different types of players. Running back, they seem to always add a running back. So obviously, I would say they're going to add a running back somewhere, and they'll probably be good because that's just what they do. I think they have young talent on the offensive line, but you could always use an interior lineman, and I think the right tackle is injury prone. Defensively, again, I think we talked maybe an interior defensive lineman. And other than that, I just think just overall depth, guys contribute, and it's a pretty secure roster. I don't think they have a backup quarterback.
At this moment, they gave Sudfeld a little boost in pay to technically be QB2 as of this moment. With the plans to separate from one James Garoppolo. But I think they're in a place where, just like the Rams are, you're just adding depth, man. You're not asking anybody to come in and be a savior anywhere. Just adding depth. I think the areas they're going to address is I think we'll find out real quick what they think about their folks in the building as far as the offensive line goes. If they go O-line early, it means it means that they feel like it's a priority, and the people in the building that they have there, maybe they don't feel that comfortable in them. If they go offensive line, like the third or fourth pick that they have, that means some shape, fashion, or form, Banks and Moore are playing and starting. They feel comfortable with the kids that they took. Where everyone's complaining folks didn't play last year, they feel comfortable. I think they'll add a wide receiver. I know they added some guys, but I think they'll add another young one to bring along slowly or what have you. Somebody a little bit more raw. I think the same thing with edge rusher and interior defensive line. Go get you somebody raw and go about your business. DJ Jones, who just got paid. I don't know if most people realize when they drafted him, that was a 6th round pick. That turned out being what he just got. Got the best defensive line coach in football. You look for stuff you look for traits, and then you go on with your life, and that's the stuff you can get in the 4th, 5th, and 6th rounds. Like you said, with running back, and they always take a running back, they always take an edge rusher. That's life. I think safety might be a priority here, where safety might be the thing that comes off the board in round 2, honestly. I wouldn't be shocked. I think they got a couple guys they're comfortable with, but I think if a guy is there that they feel could both play next to Jimmy Ward and possibly replace Jimmy Ward afterwards, I think it'll be that. That said, the guys that they have at safety, I know a lot of people like Afunga. I think he is what he's going to be, which is somebody you can bring in a game in dime situations. He's not a starter for what they ask of their safeties. That's just me personally. I think you'll find out if Tarvarius Moore has a chance. Tarvarius Moore and George Odom have a chance to go take that spot. And if they don't address safety, it means they're comfortable one of those 3 battling it out. So be it. But I definitely think they go get a guy that can play both safety spots to play with Jimmy and post Jimmy, because you don't know if you're going to be, what you're going to end up doing with Jimmy Ward. But I like the Rams, just adding depth, man. And on edge, I think they go find I think they signed Kimoko Ture recently. If they take an edge, it's going to be whatever the most freakiest raw pass rusher that's there, where if you're ready in 2 years, that's fine. Like, oh, you just started playing football. Here, come on. Come here. And you got 2 years under Kassir to figure it out. All right, last but not least, we got the Seattle Seahawks, I think. Is that it? Yes, it is. They got 3 picks in the top 50. I think the first one's at like 9. What do you got them doing?
We talked about talent, just adding talent. They're like in that, what's that word called, like a stubborn rebuild. They need to rebuild, but they don't want to because they have some players that are
they're retooling.
Yes. Coach is too old, and you can't tell DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett that you're rebuilding, even though everyone they know is gone. So I think they're just in that weird spot, and they seem to have confidence in Drew Lock and Geno Smith, and just maybe add an offensive line and then a lot just best play. I think with teams like older, an older coach, teams like that, I think it's really just filling in the lines, offensive and defensive lines, and trying to build a team that way and adding parts around that later. They're really there's not a lot of talent on that team, and they let a lot of guys go. Their leaders all left, and they're good at receiver, and hoping that they can protect Geno or Drew Lock and let him air it out this year. That would be a method of attack for them, and then defensively, hopefully they can win with scheme, and rebuild with maybe add another long corner, add a corner. They're at 9. I'm not sure what you get at 9, but the few guys I like, I don't want them to go to Seattle, but that's just me being selfish.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a spot where they take Stingley and keep it moving. They need a number 1 corner over there. You just lost DJ Reed, who was balling out last year for them. I know they got Sidney Jones and whatnot over there, so maybe they don't think about Stingley, or maybe they go get an edge rusher, right? Maybe when they were at their best, because I think that's what they want to try to get back to. Obviously, you're not rebuilding the Legion of Boom anytime soon, but up front, what made them dangerous was their depth. It was 3 groups of pass rushers, and I think the only thing they're missing right now are the edge rushers. So I think they could go edge there. You don't need to go safety or anything like that. You could go corner if you want. Maybe Sauce goes off the board there. Sydney's on one side. Maybe they feel comfortable with. You want somebody else comparable to that size. Maybe you go Sydney right there. Or you take a tackle there because your offensive line has been bad for like 4 or 5 years. Fix your offensive line. Give Locke and Smith a chance. That couldn't hurt either. Hey, look, we want to thank y'all for sitting here today, going through this with us. Truly do. Shout out to you, Michael Kirksey, and anybody else that tuned in. Again, comment sections are available for you guys to join the conversation. A reminder that Monday morning we will not be here. So usually Monday mornings, I think Mike Sykes is on with us. He and myself will not be here, as myself and Raymond will be attending Mystics Media Day because the WNBA season waits for nobody. The draft was this week, Media Days next week, training camps later that day. So you guys know what time it is. We'll see you guys Tuesday morning at 9:30. So we'll have a whole lot of NBA first round basketball to talk to you guys about. Everyone should have at least played game 1 by the time we see you guys on Tuesday morning. Y'all have a